Falcom's Trail series. It's one that immediately pops into my mind when I think of my favorite soundtracks in video games, and it's not hard to see why. The soundtracks managed to simultaneously contain a plethora of standout music and incorporate numerous leitmotifs that go a long way in amplifying its storytelling. However, there's one musical secret that I have never heard anybody discuss prior to making this video. For those unfamiliar with Trails, the series is split into multiple different story arcs, each featuring its own cast of characters and taking place in a different country on the fictional continent of Sammehnetta. The story arcs we will be looking at are the Crossbell and Cold Steel arcs, which are unique in the Trails series as it is the only time thus far where games take place concurrently with one another. That is to say, the in-game timeline of the events in Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure overlap with the events of Trails of Cold Steel 1 and Trails of Cold Steel 2. Within the games, this means that you can, for example, buy a newspaper and read about an event that the characters in the other arc are directly involved in. Pretty cool. However, the connections between the games extend beyond characters, plot, and setting. The musical secret in question that I have been alluding to lies within the opening themes of Trails from Zero and Trails of Cold Steel 1. Here is the start of the opening to Trails from Zero, Way of Life.
生きてるその意味を探し続けるそれが生きることさ
And the start of the opening to Trails of Cold Steel, Pulse Towards Tomorrow. Do you notice anything? Do the opening notes feel similar at all to you? Listen to the first notes again.
生きてる
The reason they feel similar is because what is actually happening here is a compositional technique known as an inversion. Not far along in the study of music theory is a concept called chord inversions. Chord inversions are when we change the bottom, or root note, of the chord, meaning that the notes of the chord are the same as before, but with the order of the notes being changed. This isn't exactly what is taking place here though, as we are listening to what is known as a melodic inversion, which from my perspective seems to be a much less discussed theory topic than chord inversions. In order to create a melodic inversion, we take each interval in the melody and change it to move in the opposite direction. Take Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for example. The opening interval is a perfect fifth going up, so instead we will go a perfect fifth down. Next is going up a major second, so we'll go down a major second. Next is going back down a major second, so we will instead go up a major second. Hopefully you get the idea. Here's what it sounds like when fully inverted. The concept of a melodic inversion is commonly associated with the 20th century composer Arnold Schoenberg, as it was one technique he commonly used to develop atonal music. But in actuality, melodic inversions date back much further than that. Here's an example from this D minor fugue from J.S. Bach. As we can see, the material in the left hand in this measure is inverted in the right hand of the following measure. While it doesn't line up exactly because we have a half step from the fourth to the fifth note in the left hand and a whole step from the fourth to the fifth note in the right hand, it is still clear that this was intentional by old Johann, and he just changed it up to line it up with the harmonies a bit better. Let's move back to Trails. In this 4-note figure from Trails from Zero's Way of Life, the notes are G, F, G, C, in the key of C minor. In Trails of Cold Steel's Pulse Towards Tomorrow, the notes are E flat, F, E flat, B flat. In the former, we go from down a major second to up a major second to down a perfect fifth. And in the latter, we go from up a major second to down a major second to up a perfect fifth.
生きてる
It's clearly a melodic inversion. Furthermore, Way of Life and Pulse Towards Tomorrow are in C minor and E flat major respectively, making them in relative keys of each other, both having 3 flats in their key signatures. If this was indeed intentional, the man responsible would be Yukihiro Jindo, who is credited as the arranger for Way of Life and the composer for Pulse Towards Tomorrow. Jindo is known for his compositions taking deep inspiration from classical music, so it's not unthinkable that this is something he'd do, given that melodic inversions have been used throughout the ages in classical music. Despite this, how can I really know for sure? The inverted pattern doesn't proceed following those 4 notes, and I was unable to find any more connections between the 2 pieces beyond that. Not only that, but these games were released 3 years apart from one another. It seems far-fetched that there could truly be an intentional connection, especially considering that I can't think of any other instances in which melodic inversion exists in video games, or even film music. The more you think about it, the more it really does seem like just a simple coincidence. Well, as it just so happens, Jindo is on Twitter, so I figured it couldn't hurt to shoot him the question. And 2 days later, I received a reply. Hi. Oh, you're very observant. Very perceptive. But I'm very sorry to break your hypothesis. It just happened to be this way. Sorry. So, maybe not the response I had hoped for. But even so, it's nice to have confirmation one way or the other. And it was really cool of him to respond to my random inquiry. Being called observant and perceptive by one of your favorite game composers isn't so bad either. So, what is the point of this anyway? As Jindo put it, my hypothesis had been broken. Surely studying this as closely as I did amounted to nothing, right? Even if the inversion was intentional, this isn't a discovery that'll fundamentally change anyone's view of the series, reveal something about a character, or foreshadow a future plot twist. Despite being pure coincidence, I think there is a profound takeaway from this being entirely incidental, especially since it makes the music more thematically consistent. The way it connects 2 of the arcs together in a subtle way make it still feel like it was worth sharing with Trails fans or video game music fans in general. I'd love to know what you think though, and I might make more videos about Trails music in the future, so thanks for watching.